Luke Skywalker changed the galaxy the day he left home. But what if he didn't? What if he stayed on Tatooine, fixing vaporators, gazing at the twin suns and dreaming of a life that never came? What if the greatest hero in Star Wars history never took the first step? It's easy to forget how fragile destiny really is. One choice, one hesitation, and everything we know about the saga collapses. No Death Star explosion, no redemption for Darth Vader, no balance in the Force. Just an empire that never falls, and a farm boy who never rises. We always think of Luke as inevitable, like fate was pushing him forward. But what if it wasn't? What if the Force called and he just didn't answer? The galaxy would have moved on without him, but not without consequence. Obi-Wan would die in exile, Leia would be executed, and the rebellion would crumble before it began. And the Force, the same energy that binds all life, would go quiet for a generation, waiting for someone else brave enough to listen. It's a haunting thought. The idea that everything good in the Star Wars universe depended on one scared kid saying yes to adventure. That all of history balanced on the decision of a single moment under twin suns. In this video, we'll explore what would have happened if Luke never left Tatooine, how the galaxy would have fallen apart without him, and what his lost destiny teaches us about fate, fear, and the power of choice. Imagine Luke Skywalker never leaving home. No Death Star trench run, no Jedi training, no destiny calling him to greatness. Just another day, fixing vaporators, watching the horizon, and dreaming about a life that never comes. It sounds simple, but it's one of the darkest what-ifs in Star Wars history. Because if Luke stayed behind, the galaxy wouldn't just lose a hero, it would lose its balance. The moment Luke leaves Tatooine is more than just a plot point. It's the spark that reignites the Force's will in the galaxy. Without him, the dominoes stop falling. Obi-Wan never faces Vader again, the Death Star remains operational, and the rebellion collapses before it ever stands a chance. It's not that Luke was the only person capable of heroism, but he was the one person destiny needed to act. If Luke refuses the call, Obi-Wan likely dies on Tatooine, an old man protecting a boy who never fulfills his purpose. Leia's desperate message goes unanswered. The Death Star plans never reach Yavin, and Alderaan still gets destroyed, only this time without consequence. The Empire wins the day, and the war, and the Force, that mysterious energy that binds all life, fades quietly in the background. Luke's hesitation would echo across history, because without him, hope doesn't vanish instantly. It just rots slowly. The rebels fight on, maybe for years, maybe decades, but without their symbolic saviour, they're crushed by the inevitability of imperial power. The galaxy becomes a place of routine despair. People stop fighting not because they're defeated, but because they forget what victory ever felt like. And yet the irony is that Luke's greatest flaw, his reluctance, is also what makes this scenario so haunting. He always wanted adventure, but he also feared it. If that fear won, his story would become the tragedy of potential unrealised. The farm boy who could have saved the galaxy, but never left his field. Even Darth Vader's story unravels without Luke. Because for all of Vader's power, it's his son who saves him, not through combat but compassion. Without that connection, Vader dies a monster, not a man. The prophecy of balance collapses, the Sith remain unchallenged, and the light side loses its last champion. The Empire thrives in mediocrity. Luke lives a long, quiet life under two suns, never knowing that his inaction doomed billions. It's not that he's evil, it's that he's ordinary. And in a galaxy defined by extraordinary people, that's the cruelest fate of all. Star Wars has always been about choice, but sometimes the choice not to act is the one that changes everything. So if Luke never leaves, the next question is, who takes his place? Because the Force doesn't give up easily. When one destiny is lost, it looks for another. Maybe Leia becomes the new hope. After all, she already has the courage, the leadership, and the fire. But without Luke, she's a captive on the Death Star, executed before she ever reaches Yavin. The galaxy loses not just one Skywalker, but two. What about Han Solo? Could he have become the hero? Maybe. But without Luke's idealism to challenge his cynicism, Han never learns to care about anything beyond credits. He stays a smuggler, running from Jabba, never realizing he could have been something more. The Falcon would still fly, but it would never be free. And then there's the Jedi. With Luke gone, the Jedi truly die with Obi-Wan. Yoda remains in exile, waiting for a student who never comes. The Force grows silent, not because it disappears, but because no one listens anymore. The few Force sensitives who remain are scattered, hunted and forgotten. It's the quiet death of belief. Even the Death Star itself becomes a symbol of what could have been. Without Luke's shot in the trench run, the rebellion's greatest victory becomes their final defeat. Mon Mothma, Bail Organa's allies, gone. The Empire cements control, and Palpatine rules not through fear anymore, but through normalization. The people stop calling it tyranny. They just call it life. But maybe, just maybe, the Force adapts. Maybe another figure rises. Someone like Ezra Bridger, born in a later time, feeling a pull to something greater. Maybe Ahsoka Tano steps into the light once more, sensing the void left by the Skywalkers. The galaxy wouldn't stop turning. It would just take longer to find its rhythm. The most chilling thing about this version of history is how plausible it feels. Luke almost didn't leave. He wanted to, but responsibility held him back. It's only after tragedy, the loss of his aunt and uncle, that he finally acts. Without that push, he never becomes the hero, and Star Wars becomes a story without motion. It's not that the galaxy needs Luke, it's that it needs someone like him. Someone willing to abandon comfort for chaos. To look at two suns and still choose the horizon. In a sense, what if Luke never left is the question every person faces. What if you never tried? The deeper you think about it, the more Luke never leaving becomes the perfect metaphor for fear versus destiny. Because every time Luke looked at those twin suns, he was staring at a choice between safety and sacrifice. And if he'd chosen safety, the galaxy's story would have ended, not with a bang but a whimper. Tatooine would have swallowed him whole. He'd grow older, more bitter, watching stormtroopers march through Mos Eisley, too scared to fight back. Maybe he marries. Maybe he raises a family. Maybe he teaches his kids to stay quiet and keep their heads down. The boy who once dreamed of adventure becomes the man who warns others not to dream at all. Meanwhile, the Force still whispers his name. Not as destiny, but as disappointment. The galaxy moves on without him, reshaped by darkness, while the man who could have changed it all fades into anonymity. He becomes one of millions who lived under the Empire and convinced themselves they were powerless. But here's the twist. Maybe the galaxy doesn't end because of it. Maybe someone else does rise. Maybe the Force reaches for another. It's a slower story, a messier one, but maybe it's not the end. Maybe it's just proof that destiny is stubborn. It doesn't die, it adapts. The Force always finds a vessel, even if it's not the one we expected. And yet something irreplaceable is lost. Because Luke's story isn't just about saving the galaxy, it's about restoring humanity to it. Without him, the redemption of Vader never happens, the balance never returns, and the idea that love can conquer hate dies with him. The galaxy survives, but it forgets how to heal. That's the quiet tragedy of this timeline. It's not the battles that are missed, it's the compassion that's erased. Luke was the bridge between the Force and the ordinary person, between faith and forgiveness. Without him, the Force becomes abstract again, a religion without a soul. And maybe that's the greatest warning Star Wars ever gave us. That hope isn't a cosmic force, it's a choice made by individuals. It's not written in prophecy, it's written in courage. If Luke never left Tatooine, the galaxy would go on. But it would be colder, harsher, emptier. Because the greatest power Luke Skywalker ever had wasn't the Force. It was the decision to stand up and leave home.
Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that share button. My main channel is Critical Analysis Hub, where I post Star Wars content about the movies. My secondary channel is Critical Analysis Hub Plus, where I focus on the shows of Star Wars. And my third channel is Critical Analysis Hub XP, where I post comic books. Be sure to take a moment and check them out. Thanks, and may the Force be with you.